네, 다시 한번 안내 말씀드립니다.
Once again, we're going to start the main session of Fly Asia 2022. Please come inside the blue zone and be seated. And for the participants, please come inside the blue zone and be seated. And please turn your cell phone into a vibration mode.
네, 여러분 반갑습니다. 아시아
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fly Asia 2022. And my name is Geun, the MC of the event. It's very nice to see you all again. And this Fly Asia 2022 is delivering all those various types of events and conferences under the theme of the new wave of startups into the world in Asia. And now we'd like to talk about the VC's future investment directions. And with this conference, we'd like to provide a knowledge about the future and the present of the Asian startups to the participants. And also, this conference can be also viewed from the YouTube and also Fly Asia website. And you can also visit the Fly Asia website, where you will be able to download the presentations. And if you have any questions, please tag your questions to the website and the YouTube. And also, you have been provided with the receivers. And English is 4 and Korean is 3. So today is the last main session. Following yesterday's main sessions, we'll talk about the directions of that the global investors will take in the future. So I'd like to invite Mr. Phillip Vincent from Vlog and Play for the first speech.
Hello? There we go. All right. 안녕하세요. Good morning. I'm Phillip from Plug and Play, and my goal, I believe I have 10 minutes to explain a little bit about what we do in Plug and Play globally and specifically in Asia, and then also to be able to talk a little bit about the topic today, which I believe is corporate open innovation and also startup collaboration. So with that, I have a lot of slides. This is meant to be a longer presentation, but hopefully I'll be able to finish and go quickly. So like I said, hopefully be able to talk about Plug and Play, a little bit about the ecosystems in Asia, and then corporate open innovation, and then startup collaboration. So first, a little bit about us. So we're born in Silicon Valley. We like to call ourselves an innovation platform. We run businesses like accelerator programs, corporate open innovation strategy and consulting, and then of course venture capital and investment. This is our vision, is to build the world's leading innovation platform and make innovation open to anyone and anywhere. And this is a snapshot of what we do around the world. We work in 19 different industries or verticals. So for each vertical and industry, we run a 3-month program accelerating about 10 to 15 startups every 6 months. We have offices in over 45 different locations, 50,000 in terms of our startup pipeline, 600 members, 550 corporations. And so far, out of the 1,600 investments that we've done as a venture capital, have 34 unicorns that come out of the platform. As explained, these are 3 main business pillars, running the accelerator program in over 45 locations, hopefully to be able to do one in Seoul very quickly. And we have over 60 programs that we run out of these 45 different offices. And we work with over 550 different large corporations, supporting them in their open innovation strategy. And then finally, as a venture capital, we invest in over 200 companies yearly. Here's a snapshot of some of the investments that we've done so far. As explained, we have right now 34 different unicorn companies that have come out of our 1,600 portfolio. And just last year alone, 1 per month unicorn was born out of our portfolio, so we're very proud of that. We are a very active investor, and frequently in these types of lists of having the most active investment portfolio, meaning that we do many investments throughout the month, throughout the year, we come on top. And here are the various industries and verticals that we work with. Pretty much there's not a lot of areas that we don't cover. We hope to be able to launch a couple of these in Seoul very soon. Here's also a snapshot of our various offices, mainly centered around Americas, Europe, and of course Asia. And the dots that you see that are in red are new offices last year. Okay, and very quickly, just to dive a little bit deeper in our ecosystem in Asia, you have probably seen this list many, many times now that Seoul is ranked 10th in terms of global startup ecosystems around the world. We're very proud of this, of course, representing Asia. Not only is Seoul in 10th, of course, we have Beijing in 5th, Tokyo in 12th, Singapore in 18th. And we hoped out of this top 20, top 40, that more and more Asian ecosystems will be on this list. In Korea, of course, this is a snapshot of our partners, LG, Samsung, Estee Lauder, Hanjin, a handful of government partners that we work with. We launched in 2021, this is last year, and hopefully starting next year, we're going to really scale our program here, do accelerator programs, and hopefully see many, many more logos on this slide. In Japan, we launched in 2017, so 5 years ago, we work with 50 different corporate partners, many, many different industries, and have accelerated 800 startups so far. In Asia Pacific, so this is the region besides China, Korea, and Japan, offices in Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and so on. And of course, China, which is another different animal. We have 100 corporate partners that we work with here, have done over 100 investments, and have 100 staff members that run this business as well. Okay, I'm trying to go fast. I have only 6 minutes left. So let me talk a little bit about the topic today, which is corporate open innovation. Open innovation, as many of you know, is hard. It's very difficult. We've been doing this for many, many years, partnering with many companies, introducing many startups. The strategy has been changing over the years. And I feel like I can list a few here and hopefully go into detail a little more. There has to be a balance between what's called now open innovation and closed innovation. I believe many companies have tried, creating their own accelerators, investing in startups around the world, joining platforms like Plug and Play, and now we have to be more focused in terms of being smarter about the resources that we use. Just meeting startups is not going to get you the engagement that you want, the next billion-dollar business. It's now having the more internal capability, that's the third dot there, to be able to run these pilots, POCs, projects, investments way more smoother than we have before. So this is what we're trying to avoid. We like this story. If you remember Nokia, this is a company that, of course, created phones, and the famous quote by the ex-CEO is, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." Now, this is very typical for any case study you would see for companies that have gone out of business because of a lot of innovation that happened around them. But just because you're doing something right doesn't mean that everything could go wrong. So this is what we see as kind of the innovation scheme. So of course, between the closed innovation is and open innovation is, And within open innovation, we think there's three types of open innovation. One is the consortium approach. This is what the Plug and Play Accelerator program is. What the Plug and Play Accelerator program is we gather a consortium or a group of corporate partners working in a specific industry. So not only do we connect one startup to one corporate, we hope that the end-to-end engagement or the many-to-many engagement within these consortium approaches create a much larger opportunity for engagements, not only between corporates and startups, but hopefully between corporates and corporates, startups and startups, et cetera. This is more of a serendipitous approach to open innovation. The inbound approach, this is where the corporate partners kind of advertise their various needs and solutions that they're looking for, and the startups approach that. The outbound, of course, is for the corporate partners to stand on this stage here, kind of reverse pitch to the startup community in hopes the startups can come up with various solutions to that. I'm going to go through very, very quickly some of the innovation theories that we like working with. Of course, one of the famous one is the exploration versus exploitation. As most companies fall into the exploitation trap, which is focusing too much on their internal and closed closed innovation and not too much on open innovation, which is exploration. But this is a very difficult balance for companies to take, as the immediate value and outcomes of exploration is very uncertain. Companies that focus on exploitation too much, so this is the deepening the knowledge of the industries that they're already in, frequently fall to what we call the success trap. So you can see here, we have this fake CEO saying, let's continue to improve on our specialty. There's no other company that can do it better than we do. So this is companies like Nokia falling into the success trap, and not just because they're not doing anything right, it's because they haven't explored enough. And of course, the exploration is the quest for knowledge. You know, we like saying that innovation is a combination of a known knowledge, internal known knowledge, paired with an external known knowledge to create a new knowledge. Sorry, that was maybe a little confusing, but the point is to be able to widen the horizon of your exploration, the new knowledge, to hopefully create new opportunities. Apple does this well, of course. I don't need to go into examples. Google has done this historically well, doing the 80% exploitation and 20% exploration. Innovator's dilemma you might have heard with. Basically what this is when you have a product or service that's going really well, and if that business is peaking, that's the time when you're supposed to start exploring into new industries and new products and services, and hopefully it'll scale like this. So lastly, I'll discuss a little bit about startup and corporate collaboration is our bread and butter at Plug and Play. We like to dissect what corporate open innovation looks like. This is kind of the four corners of what open innovation looks like. At the top, you see kind of the POC in the piloting and project phase with the outside market. On the left, you have the internal seeds, right, the external seeds, and of course, the innovation team. What each of these teams should be doing is assessed here on the right. Of course, as the external seeds, you should be expanding your network. For the internal seeds, it's the incubation and getting the right stakeholders involved. For the innovation strategy, it's the vision and the trend. For business development, it's being able to work with the external partners and market needs to be able to launch these products. Okay, and I'm running out of time here, so I'll go very quickly. But important things within open innovation is to have the vision, is to be able to dissect the challenges that you have to get to the vision, and then fill the gap with the priority tasks. So I'll skip these. Hopefully we can talk a little bit about these during the panel. And if you're interested in how Plug and Play does this in more detail, how we prioritize the tasks and what we work with corporate partners, please let me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. 여러분 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 필립 빈센트 쉐이님께서 오늘 첫 번째 발표를 열어주셨습니다. 두 번째 발표자 바로 소개.
I'd like to introduce to you the second speaker. We have a team leader, Jeong from Microsoft. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Good morning, everyone. I am Jeong. I am Digital Native Team Lead from Microsoft. Very nice to meet you all today. So as you have witnessed, time is flying, so I will just go through my presentation in a very speedy manner. Which one do I have to click to go to the next slide? Okay. In fact, I actually have been working in the global IT vendor for the past 15 years, and half of the time was dedicated for a cloud service provider like Amazon's and Google, and now I have joined Microsoft. And based on my personal experiences, I have come to realize that the cloud software providers work with startups just as if they are VCs, venture capitalists. Because just have an example. If one startup has a exponential growth, actually, the IT service cloud providers receive most of the benefits from this exponential growth of a startup companies. So what I'm going to tell you today is Microsoft, a cloud service provider, is working on and working with startups ecosystem to bring the most benefits to the cloud services, to the startup companies and also the ecosystem. Do you know what the mission is? Do you know what the mission of Microsoft? Actually, our mission was to provide desks and also chairs and also computers to every household on the planet. There was a old mission from the 1970s, and it was from the then CEO Bill Gates. And in 2015, we started to have a new mission from our new CEO, and this mission is quite resonating with the Korean, because we have this our own philosophy of bringing benefits to all the people. So here, our mission at Microsoft is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. In other words, our goal is to empower every entrepreneur and every startup on the planet to achieve more. This is what we are going to do. This is what Microsoft is going to do for the startups. So in other words, our mission can be also interpreted as follows. We are to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more with startups. So I'd like to talk about this mission from two different angles. The first one is about open innovation, and it is all about how to collaborate with startups on the planet, how to collaborate with the startups to empower everyone on the planet so that everyone can achieve more. As you know, Microsoft strategically acquired GitHub, and GitHub has been the most representative service of the open source ecosystem, and also we have also a strategic partnership with the OpenAI. So I think you will be able to envisage what you're going to do. So now we are providing GitHub Copilot. So there are more than 5,000 codes on the GitHub which are analyzed, and also we have the NLP model. Actually, the GTP3 was derived from NLP, natural language processing model, and this service provides the transferring and or a converting the coding and also by analyzing the context. So, and we recently had the Ignite 2022, and let me just share with you a very short video clip. Actually, the OpenAI and GPT-3 model and the drives derivatives of these are quite various, and one of them is a DALI 2. So if you utilize this DALI 2, you will just convert a natural language into images. And there are many models available in Korea. So if you have experience, have utilized some of these, then you see that your languages can be transferred and also converted into images. And also with this specific tool, users will be able to edit the files very easily. So even though you're not a designer, you will be able to edit these files very simply and with ease. So this is what we are offering. And secondly, then let me also ask this question. In order to empower entrepreneurs and every startups so that they can achieve more, what we are doing at Microsoft. So we are providing a variety of services for the entrepreneurs and startups from the cradle to the exit. I think might not be quite familiar with this CVC called M12, which is Singapore-based. When I joined Microsoft for the first time, I went to Singapore and had a chance to speak with the head of the M12. And the head of the M12 is quite enthusiastic in making investments in Korea. So I believe that there will be quite robust and active a movement out of the M12. And M12 actually made investment into 114 different cases. And so, as you know, Microsoft has been utilized by a lot of companies. So we have collaborations with these companies. Microsoft also operates a program that systematically help B2B technology to startups. And one of the representative case is a Lunit. Because we are running out of time, I will not dive into the Lunit. But if you do Google, you will come to know about the Lunit in great detail. And the other one is a Founders Hub. Microsoft provides a variety of services, as you know. And as for the startups, actually the early stage startups, we are providing this Founders Hub so that they can save money. So there are all kinds of Easores and LinkedIn and so all the different applications and a crowd credit. So this is software-based service. And if you are running a startup based on the software, then you will eventually receive 150K eventually. So most of the startups will be able to be supported with the up to 150K, which is around 20 million won in Korean. And also, this is what I'm doing. This is called a Microsoft Launcher, which was launched last August. And this program, together with the Founders Hub, provides support for startups, including the Azure and the M365. So, if you have heard about the Spoke program, and we have a strategic alliance with the Spoke program to help out startups. And we got a promise from this Spoke that startups will not be paying $1 in the first place, and there are all kinds of sources available at Microsoft. Please come to Microsoft for more help. And also, we have technical support providers. And also, as for the co-working space, we have 2 co-working spaces to be launched next year in Yeoksam and in another place. So if you are accredited by the Microsoft, and then we're going to provide you with the opportunity to work at one of our co-working spaces. And also we will also provide startups with a chance to go for the IR pitching So they will start very soon next year. So with those 4 additional features, we started this Microsoft Launcher program last August, and more than 100 startups have applied for this launcher, and you can also apply for this launcher program around the year. And please just tag with this a QR code, or if you just search Microsoft Startup program, you will be able to register very quickly. And so far, I have been talking about how Microsoft is helping our startups to make sure that all the people and organization on the planet will be empowered to achieve more. So it is my sincere hope that we will just become a community of common destiny, so that we will achieve more all together. And thank you very much. This is my presentation. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. And so we have been told about various support programs provided by Microsoft. Actually, 10 minutes is very short. So after the presentations are over, we will have a dedicated panel discussion session where the audience will be able to ask questions. So having said that, let us now continue with the third speech of today. And we have a Mr. Hyun from Smart City Ventures. Please give him a big round of applause.
Hello, I am from Smart Study Ventures, Hyun. So we are subsidiary company of Ping Pong Company, which is very famous for its baby shark. So this video was viewed by 10 billion times on YouTube last year alone. So our company, our mother company, posted a very sharp growth with this character and videos. And as our character made a very greatest hit, we started have a very deep consideration about our future direction. And we faced very many good news, but this made us to think about very hard about what to do next, because we celebrated our 10th anniversary last year, and Microsoft is a very large company, and unlike their open innovation, as we are a smaller company, we started to think about how to live and how to survive in the future. And that's why we came up with the creation of CVC, because it's a matter of living or die. So it's a matter of life or death to us. So we need to grow in order to survive in the market in the future. So when we think about our market, we thought about our existing business, existing market, and the new market and the new customers. And in countries which has less subscription rate to YouTube, and we were less known, so either entering these markets or others where we can lend our characters or IPs and receive the royalty fees. That was the two options that we could think about. And we also have some offline venues for kids. So this kind of business was another option that we thought about, and educational business was a new business options that we thought about. So how to actually start this new business was one of the considerations we had to make, and having new businesses and entering new markets sounded very good, but it would take very long period of time. for us to really utilize our internal resources and in entering this new market or a new business. So, starting this new business appeared quite difficult to us, and collaborating with external partners seemed that we wouldn't be able to fully utilize our internal resources and reap the whole value from that new business. So we decided to exploit our internal resources, and that's how we came to build CVC. So I am a 12-year VC, and this CVC is a venture capital firm with exit in mind. So why do you consider exit? Because you can just invest in shares that you will keep for your lifetime, and that way that venture capital firm will look more attractive, but that's not the case to us. So we always think about exit when we invest in a company, and because we believe that way we can grow together with the company that we invest in, because we always think about how to exit, how to grow this, how to develop this firm and achieve exit. And as for the pink phone as well, and if you are in the backup office, then it is very hard to have the right KPI, and so we wanted to have a good KPI for this CVC. So that's how we started to invest in profitable business, which has standalone growth power. And we prevented moral hazard of CVC and quality management of HR, because we invest in startups or other companies to survive. So these are the three strategies that we have for our CVC. And so the CVC was established in July 2019, and we could have good investment with in partnership with good investors. And it is very hard to receive venture capital license in Korea, but as for the portfolio invested by the Smart Ventures company, we could actually easily get it thanks to our ping pong company's patented characters and IP. So this is how we could enter the new market and new business indirectly by making investment as a CVC. So before the Smart Ventures was created, we only had 3 subsidiaries, as you can see here. There was USA and Hong Kong and Shanghai. But with this Smart Study Ventures, we have Smart Study Asia under the ping pong company. So not only the share investment, we also invest in co-developing animation or the cartoons. So this is a low-teen animation targeting the YouTube or other platforms. And we also collaborated with animation creator, and this animation is C-Look is targeting the kidults or kid adults, and it was co-produced by us and Million Volt. And you know, 소년제, and we start 소년제 to create educational and entertainment content for kids. And this is a gymnastics program for kids. So this is another new business that we are thinking right now and planning. And one of our questions that we have is how to actually capture the kids who liked Baby Shark to enjoy our characters as they grow up. So we came up with this Moon Shark animation in collaboration with M Story Hub and FNF. So this is another new business, which is animation business that we plan right now. And there can be some companies who are looking for a new business, as we did, looking for post Baby Shark character. So this is how we created some funds for startups, and many investors who are interested in investing the content and content IP have been participated. And this way we want to value up the startups. And the second fund that we created was the Next Wave Tour Fund, and the Busan City is the main anchor of this fund. And this fund, like the Content Media Fund, this is for the tourism and venture company investment projects. So tourism and tourism companies, tourism programs these days are very one-time events. So we wanted to brand it and make it as content so that some fandom can be also created for tourism programs as well. So there are some investors who agree on this concept and they participated in this fund. So SI and FI and company building are the three pillars of our investment. Thank you.
박수 부탁드립니다.
Please give her a big round of applause once again. It was the third presenter, Ms. Hyun Song from Smart Study Ventures. So only 10 minutes were given to each presenter, so you would have so many questions to ask each of them. So we prepared a panel discussion. So let me introduce you our moderator, who is Mr. Choi Min-jun from Nextunicorn. Please give him a big hand. And we will invite three presenters up to the stage. It's Phillip, Vincent, and Mr. Jeong and Ms. Hyun Song all come up to the stage. Please give them a big round of applause once again.
First of all, I thank everyone, Phillip, 정호근 팀장님, 이현성 대표님 for the presentation and giving us meaningful insights. And I actually would like to ask Phillip to excuse me speaking in English and Korean, like back and forth. So, 그러면 지금부터
So from now on, I'd like to ask questions in Korean. Actually, the whole session was supposed to be in English. However, most of the panelists are speaking in English, but we have the audience who are most of the Koreans. So I'd like to just operate this panel in Korean. And by first, I'd like to introduce Nextunicorn. Nextunicorn was established in 2019 as a platform for collaboration with startups, and we have been collaborating with over 16,000 startups, and also this platform has been utilized by over 1,000 venture capitalists so far, and also up to the first half of this year, over over 420 billion won was also mobilized through this platform. So this platform, it has a mission to solve all the problems and faced by venture capitalists and startups. So I think we have been able to achieve great and meaningful results so far. And this is the introduction to my company. And now I'd like to talk about the CVCs and how they are playing a big role in the startup ecosystem on the global basis. So CVCs has been a very core part of the startup ecosystem till today, and the speakers are also presenting CVCs, and also Mr. Phillip Vincent also has experiences in the accelerating organizations, and also Mr. Jeong is also leading the CVCs as part of this a large conglomerate, and also we have a Mrs. Hyun who is also working on the CVCs. So I'd like to ask a variety of questions to the speakers. First question goes to Mr. Phillip Vincent. And so I'd like to ask this question in Korean. So please, actually, how are the roles of international VCs and CVCs different in startup ecosystem?
It's different from just traditional venture capital.
Sure. Thank you for the question, and thank you for going back and forth between English and Korean. I think first and foremost, the stakeholders are very different, obviously, and we had maybe a presentation right before from Smart Study, but kind of depends on the how you set up the CVC too. So VCs obviously traditional, kind of more professional investors doing for more kind of usually capital gain, but even VCs, there's kind of VCs that focused either on strategic or financial returns, but that's also the same thing for CVCs as well. So I think depending on how you set up this VC and CVC, it might at the end of the day not be that different. But the main difference of the CVC is, of course, they have the parent company as the back, and most CVCs are set up in the way where they have to follow somewhat of the vision of the parent company, and that usually kind of limits them in terms of the industry that they invest in. Most CVCs that I know of are not greatly motivated by the capital gains as usually the VCs do. Even though, of course, at the end of the day, it is investment, they have to do it for financial gain. But they do look for that integration and engagement within the business units that they have. Hopefully, the startup that they invest in can be able to make that engagement and pilot and POC, and hopefully into a kind of new business for that parent company. So the incentives and the stakeholders are a little different. And then, of course, from the startup perspective, it's at what stage, depending on the industry, do I want VC money or CVC money? Sometimes the VCs are more flexible in terms of having them in earlier rounds so that they kind of can give better and more horizontal advice, as opposed to CVC could be in early rounds a little bit more limiting, just because of whether it's exclusivity or having kind of very narrow mindset. So from the startup perspective too, I think depending on your industry, depending on the round, you want to be very mindful in terms of having VCs or CVCs in that round.
Thank you for the answer. 그러면 정우근 팀장님께 질문을 드리고.
My question goes to Mr. Jeong. Actually, not from the perspective of the CVC. I believe that you'll be able to answer this question from a organization's point of view, because your team is working to have a synergy effect between the CVC and the startups. So, how do you believe that your organization will be able to have a synergy effect with the CVCs? And so this is my question. Thank you.
CVC 직접
Thank you for the question. Actually, I'm not directly involved in the CVC. Actually, our goal is to introduce the startups to the CVCs as much as possible. And once the CVCs and startups are joined together, then we will lead the second stage, which is open innovation. Actually, as I mentioned earlier, we have the M12A CVC, which is investing in the early stage companies. And also, Microsoft also make a direct investment strategically. For example, we made as an example, Microsoft made the investment into the headquarters of the We Made recently. So the CVC is making investment strategically, but it goes a lot of processes to make that happen. So it's just like you are meeting a person, and then you just start dating with that person, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of courses to get to the point where you tie the knot. So we need to go through all these verification processes, just like the way you come to find ourselves in the wedding hall. So what I'd like to also talk about is that in my personal experiences, Alphabet made investment into the Kakao mobility. So AlphaGo was also collaborated with the Kakao Map and Kakao Mobility. And Kakao Mobility is also have a lot of works to collaborate with the Google. So once two entities find a topic where the collaboration is needed, then I think that we have great chances of success. And my question goes to Mrs. Hyun. You mentioned that the Smart Venture study is just like a VC in the first place, but after going through the process of company building and it started to just view the smart ventures from a different angle. And so I think you are the right person to answer this question. So VCs are not just confined to the concept of exit. So the VCs are now taking a different and bigger role. So from a investment point of view, and CVCs are not quite different from the FIs. So as I mentioned earlier, the investment activity is important. So however, we do not just always focus on the exit alone, and because what is differentiates us is that Ping Pong is also a company, and when I was the VC, actually startup companies do not approach me with questions, but now things are different, and now the startup companies come to me and ask all the questions about the shares and about the performance assessment and how to assess the labor hour per each employees. So startup companies come to me with all kinds of practical challenges and problems they face in the field. So we are very much glad that our company is deeply involved in the startups and the Ping Pong company, from the HR to the consulting and to the assessment. So our goal is to have a very combined knowledge to offer advice to the companies.
So I have another question for Hyun. And open innovation. While doing open innovation, you might have faced some challenges as well as you're running a CVC. And what kind of challenges of open innovation did you face? Well, first of all, there are many kinds of CVC, and because I am one of CVC, and there are some times that CVC do not run their own KPI, and so we have to allocate the KPI to our internal resources. So that's one of the challenges that we have. And so there can be some growth pains that the startups experience while they grow up. So it is good if they share them with us. But also, we are a kind of a startup, so we have to rely on our mother company, but they also have some expectation on us. So there are because the ping pong company is in the content business, so because we are CVC of the ping pong, then people expect that we receive a lot of support from our mother company, but that's not always the case. And Mr. Jeong also shared that the MS luncheon program launching, and already over 100 companies applied for that program, and the selected startups will be able to go with MS, and you have to review them. And what will be your criteria on that selection? Well, Microsoft Luncheon actually have a very lower hurdle to enter, and most startup programs have a limited amount of budget. But as we operated with a global budget, we have very low hurdle barrier to enter. And if you are a software-based startup, and if you do not have a business which everyone says no, such as excavating coins like that. And if that's not the case, then everyone can be selected for this program. And so we have additional support for some group of startups as well. So, okay.
Phillip, open innovation is always like considered as a risk sharing between startups and companies. I think it's because there are a lot of like issues we have go through for a successful open innovation. So for Plug and Play, what are the main issues that arise in the process of open innovation, and how did Plug and Play solve this problem with the corporate partners?
Sure. So hopefully maybe I can talk a little bit about what I couldn't finish in the presentation. But we've seen, of course, it's really hard to kind of bucket it into kind of a few challenges because there's many. But I'll talk about it from the kind of the corporate point of view. But we've been introducing, of course, startups to corporations for a very, very, very long time, and most of them fail. And that's because kind of the pre-introduction phase of how companies set up their open innovation activity is not yet where companies want it to be. And that starts from kind of what I started to talk about, the vision of the company. It's where do you want to be in 10 years and 20 years? In order to get to that place where you want to get to, what are the current challenges that you face? If your vision is to be this type of company, then what are you currently doing that's not working within the company? And then how do you fill the gap? And then what are the priority tasks on kind of how you fill that gap? So it really starts with the executive commitment. It's understanding the company vision, being able to kind of relay that internally for your various stakeholders internally to be able to understand that. And it's to create an innovation team, of course, then CVC is a part of that, and kind of give them enough of the flexibility and empowerment so they can kind of carry out those missions. So I think kind of the strategy portion, of course, the vision, and then the people. Kind of, can you get the right people working on it? Can you get the right team working on it? Can you get the right incentives so they can kind of do what they do well? Those tend to be the first priorities and the challenges that the company faces. Once they set the people and the strategy right, then it's a matter of repeating, scouting, working on these various topics, and then the structure and the guidelines and they can all come after. But the first is setting up the vision and the people, I believe, is the biggest challenge and the biggest priority.
I mean, in Korean market, actually, like the smart study, a lot of like corporates are trying to make an open innovation, but we fail a lot. But you actually made a lot of successful like results in like Japan or other Asia regions. What are the like key differences between like Asia market, other Asian market, and the Korean market?
In terms of in Japan, for example, just because that's what I'm more familiar, there's probably not that much difference. But it just starts with education, I think. And the more educated the corporates are, and not at the executive level or the innovation team level, it needs to be the entire company, the HR department, the accounting department, the business unit. It needs to be a seamless process from when the project is introduced to when it is finally implemented in the company. So the more success we've had in companies that we work with is, does the entire company from the top level to the business unit have the understanding of why startups are important, why we should be working with startups, and then how to be able to do that from step 1 to 100. If that knowledge is across the company, then we've kind of had very seamless engagement. So I don't think it's necessarily kind of per ecosystem. I think it's being able to kind of educate the entire ecosystem, both on the corporate side and of course the startup side, to be able to work with that kind of is more the difference. And of course Japan had a lot of difficulty because they weren't up to date in terms of how companies were doing it globally that were more successful, like companies in Silicon Valley. What Korean companies we've seen do really well so far is that they have a pretty good understanding of kind of what that looks like. And we've seen a lot of companies, Korean companies, kind of come to Silicon Valley to be able to learn that and then implement it back in their, back here. So we're very excited to what we can do in Korea as well.
네, 감사합니다. 조금은 다른
Okay, so it might be a different question from the previous ones, and it goes to Mr. Lee. And from the perspective of CVC, the Smart Study Ventures focus on what kind of startups? What's your focus as you invest in startups, and to attract that kind of investment? What kind of do you have any advice to startups as they pitch their businesses, and what points do they have to make? Yes, it's a very good question, but I don't know whether my answer will be helpful. But it's not that we have different views from other CVs, but if they have a right problem, the big enough problem, and if they come up with good solutions with good teams, and that's the same as CVs focus on. And if the startups come to us to pitch to us, they actually sometimes pitch the points that they can collaborate with Pink Phone Company. But actually, they cannot know how the Pink Phone Company or we can work with them. So actually, rather than focusing on the collaboration that they can make with us or the Pink Phone Company, they can more focus on their business, I think. And I think how we can collaborate with our ping pong company, or how we can utilize the internal resources that they have, is what we have to consider and what we have to think about, actually. And this is one of the issues and considerations that we make always, actually, and how we can. So this is our issue, actually, so not theirs.
런처 프로그램에
So Mr. Jeong actually talked about what kind of startups can apply to the launcher program, and you said that there is a very low entrance barrier, and how the startups are collaborating with Microsoft is what I think people are interested in.
Yes, Lunit, as you know, was utilizing the AI for diagnosis, and this unit has been providing a diagnosis utilizing the AI. And in the early stage of the COVID-19, we have some obstacles in terms of diagnosing the COVID-19 virus. So in order to solve this problem, Lunit has the technology required. So Microsoft and actually was quite interested in Lunit's availability and capability, and also Microsoft has the connection to and also network to provide to the Lunit for a overseas expansion. And Lunit was just a representative case, as Mrs. Lee mentioned. So the the mother company, in our case, Microsoft, needs to realize, understand the needs of the startups, so that we could have more collaborations.
It would be the most difficult question. So, what do you think? What would be the characteristics of Korean startups comparing to other startups in the Asian market?
Sure. So, of course, this is a very outsider perspective.
Yeah. What are
of
the
this.
key competitors or key strengths?
Sure. So I guess first of all, just to kind of set up maybe the answer to that question, kind of working with Plug and Play, and from a long time ago, maybe since 10 to 12 years ago, the Korean government has been the most aggressive sending Korean startups to Plug and Play specifically in Silicon Valley for the last 10 to 12 years. And because of that, more than any other country, we've seen in Plug and Play, we've seen Korea startups. So I think, first of all, that's kind of the mindset that we're aware of, that they're way more global than other countries, specifically in Asia, in terms of being able to go abroad, test overseas market, learn from overseas market, and if anything, come back. Or if they're successful, then they kind of give the support and feedback to other Korean startups trying to do the same thing. So I think I've seen that really be beneficial for Korean startups that are trying to scale their business domestically and internationally. And we've kind of seen that, I think, really heighten the quality of Korean startups that Plug and Play has been involved in over the last years as well. So to me, that's the biggest difference. We've seen other countries, and for example, comparatively to Japan, for better or for worse, the Japanese market is actually very big. So there's not a lot of incentive for Japanese entrepreneurs to necessarily go out and challenge other markets outside of Japan. So it tends to be very domestic businesses, and then not necessarily as scalable as some of the other startups that we've seen from other countries. So I think that's something that Korea has been doing well, and hopefully that'll kind of continue to. We've seen Seoul as the top 10 startup ecosystem, and hopefully continue to grow.
사실 정호근 팀장님이나 이영
Actually, I believe that Mr. Jeong and Mrs. Lee share my feelings. In the process of assessing and selecting startups, you have experiences with a variety of Korean startups. And so my question goes to Mr. Jeong first. So in comparison to the startups in other Asian countries, what are the different characteristics or strengths of Korean startups? In fact, MS CEOs up here visited Korea recently, and he also had meetings with the CEOs of large conglomerates. Actually, he had limited time available, so still he was able to meet with the CEOs of a selected startups and NCP, and we also invited 5 startups to have a meeting with the CEO of Microsoft. It means that Korean startups has great capability and strengths in terms of technology, and on the global basis, there are the many teams which are providing funds for the unicorn companies, and they also share that Korean startups have very distinctive technologies, and they have a capability to go global. But what is missing from them is that most of the entrepreneurs are focusing on the local market. And that I know that it is a starting point for them, but it doesn't necessarily to be like this. Startups could launch their businesses in overseas markets in the first place because they have the capabilities needed to go global. Thank you, and please answer this question. Actually, in the former VC I worked on, I was working with the Renminbi Fund in Shanghai, and I was able to work with Chinese startups and also overseas startups who are also flowing into China. And as we mentioned earlier, what is quite notable is that Korea has a very small test market. So, in contrary to what Mr. Jeong mentioned, Korean startups are quite interested in going global. regardless of whether they have the ability to go global or not. And sometimes Korean startups are quite ambitious to go global, and I think they have this obsessive mindset of going global, and because of the size of this local market, and in contrast to the large companies, startups, when they are not, in the very early stage, they have some obstacles to overcome in terms of the recruiting. However, in Korea, actually, in the scale of 1 to 10, actually, we have to recruit and hire talent. And so in Korea, most of the talents are very talented, and they are capable in the scale of at least 6 to 10. So we have great advantages because of the Korean talent. Actually, we have only 3 minutes left. So my question goes to
List. What are the future goals of Plug and Play Korea in Korea market?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Since we launched a year and a half ago, and during COVID times as well, I think now that it's a little bit more open and kind of, being able to do events like this, we really want to try to scale our business next year. And we've grown our team to now 6 people here, and we have very good conversations with companies and government to be able to expand the programs that we're running. So just in terms of goals next year, I think like we're doing in Silicon Valley, like we're doing in Japan and other ecosystems, first we want to create kind of more global platforms and accelerator programs from Korea next year. So that's goal number 1. And then number 2, kind of be able to create, I think, a community. What we do really well is kind of create the consortium, the community for Plug and Play Korea to be a hub in Korea, in various cities, to be the connection between Korea and global. So that's something that we hope to do. And then last but not least, being able to invest, because of the high quality startups that we see here, because of the potential, because of how we view the Korean market, we feel like as Plug and Play, we can make very good investments and be an investor where we can help Korean startups being able to achieve that global goal.
Thank you. 그 MS 정군 팀장님도 런칭하시면서 국내에서 이제 앞으로 더 큰 역할을 하실 것 같은데요. 국내에서 어떤 목표를 가지고 계시는지 짧게 말씀 주시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
네. 저희는 사실은 국내에서
Would you please share some of your plans with us? Well, as we create some funds, well, we try to help startups to go global, and we want to create some opportunities for them. And recently, we are making a close collaboration with a company who is doing the digital transformation. And early this year, they rebranded, and they will launch a new brand early next year. And they also want to enter a new market globally, so we are supporting them right now. So likewise, we want to create more opportunities like this for many startups. And Ms. Lee, would you please share with us some of your plans as well? Yes, they have already shared many good insights and plans. So as well, we will do our open innovation well, and moving forward, we also hope that Pink Phone Company grows all together with us. And if we have a very remote but grand company, grand vision, then it would be one day if a company that we invested will become next Pink Phone Company, which can become unicorn, then that would be very good. And that way we want to create a Pink Phone Company ecosystem of our own, actually. So we want to create that kind of a case study. Thank you. So would there be any other Q&A session time? No, I don't think so. So time's all up. So after this panel discussion, I hope to have some networking time privately. And if anyone having any question for these presenters, please come to them after this session and to receive their business cards and have some chats. So we dealt with the issues more about the CBC, but in order for CBCs to take greater roles in Korea, I think the many ACs such as Phillip and other companies who are doing open innovation should be able to take greater roles. And it was very honored and pleased to have you all for this session. And please give them a big round of applause once again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we had Mr. Jae from Nextunicorn as moderator, and Mr. Phillip Vincent and Mr. Geun and Ms. Hyun as presenters for today's session. So it was very insightful presentation and panel discussion to learn about the CBC's roles and responsibilities and the venture capital's current status. And we also have another session followed by this session, and that is open innovation. So please look forward to learning more about open innovation in the next session. Thank you.